Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will begin soon, so please take your seats. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Our program will begin in 2 minutes. Please be seated. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business of Design Week 2024. What a mesmerizing performance, brought to you by our incredible French artists, Franck Frigro and Antoine Smith. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. That incredible performance was titled A Total.
That's right, it was a total immersive experience, combining sound and visual art. They have pushed boundaries on how art can be perceived. And what a perfect way to foretell how BODW 2024 will be.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, bienvenue à Business of Design Week 2024, organized by the Hong Kong Design Center. My name is Vincent Chang.
And my name is Sarika Choi. Welcome. Business of Design Week, also known as BODW. And this year is going to be a very special year, as 2024 marks the 60th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between China and France.
As our partner country, France joins BODW 2024, symbolizing a collective partnership, leading an era of global design collaboration, fostering cultural exchange and innovation.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome Professor Eric Yim, MHJP, Chairman of the Hong Kong Design Center, on stage for a welcome remarks. Professor Eric Yim, please.
Eva, Christine, Secretary Yang, Margaret, esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, moderators, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Hong Kong Design Center, I would like to welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the Business of Design Week for BODW 2024. Hong Kong is a center for cultural exchanges between East and West, as well as a design capital. With our city's unique advantages, we are delighted to have France as our partner country once again. By showcasing France's distinctive design aesthetics and rich cultural heritage, we aim to promote the integration of Eastern and Western design forces, drive cross-disciplinary innovative thinking, and explore how to harness arts, technology, and innovations to meet the demands of our time. We seek to capitalize on the business opportunities that arise from change, create value through design, challenge the status quo, and drive progress for a better future for all. In the spirit of this partnership, we are thrilled to embrace the artistic heritage and innovative spirit that France contributes to our collaborative campus. From the timeless elegance of French art to the cutting-edge trends emerging from Parisian ateliers, this collaboration promises a blend of creativity and sophistication. Commencing today, we embark on the exploration of the theme intersection, design, artistry, and innovation during the 3-day International Summit. This theme not only commemorates the interweaving of diverse cultures, but also emphasizes the influential power of design in reshaping products, processes, and strategy within our continuously evolving business landscape. BODW 2024 showcases 5 distinctive topics: urban futures, brands and retail resurgence, craftsmanship and material mastery, culture and digital aesthetics, and AI and future tech. Apart from professional designers, I firmly believe that business entities and friends from different sectors can discover valuable insights that can be shared to foster business growth. I take this moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to all speakers and moderators for committing to share their invaluable insights at BODW 2024. Their contribution will greatly benefit the design industry. We also express our gratitude to our lead sponsor, Cultural and Creative Industries Development Agency of the Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, our co-organizer, Hong Kong Trade Development Council, our strategic business partners, Brand Hong Kong, Invest Hong Kong, and Henderson Land, and our strategic program partners, Hong Kong Design Institute, PMQ, and Polyview School of Design. Your support has been vital to our success. In the midst of a long list of design events unfolding this September, from the launch of the DX Design Hub to the upcoming DFA Award presentation ceremony and BODW in the city, each event served as a testament to Hong Kong's unwavering commitment to creativity and innovation. Let's not forget the focal point of this exceptional international summit, Business of Design Week, posed to ignite our creativity, expand our horizon, and drive us towards new frontier of design excellence. We firmly believe that you are here today because you share this vision with us. Once again, thank you for joining us today. Have a great BODW 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Yip. Please be seated. Thank you. And now, please welcome Mrs. Christine Droul, Consul General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, on stage. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, dear Kevin Yang, dear Eric Lim, Chairman of Hong Kong Design Center, dear Margaret Fong, Executive Director of XKTDC, Cher Ambassador Evan Nguyen, President of Institut Français, dear speakers who have come from afar, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Bonjour à tous. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I stand before you this morning for the official opening of this very special Business of Design Week, for which France is particularly happy to be the partner country. 2024 has been a landmark year for France and France-Hong Kong relations. From hosting the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Paris, in which Hong Kong performed really well, to celebrating the 60th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between France and China, it has been a year rich in milestones. Business of Design Week provides a perfect finale for this special year, highlighting the close cultural and business ties between France and Hong Kong. The 3 visits to France of the Secretary for Culture, the Hong Kong SAR this year, and the collaboration with the Hong Kong Design Center to organize such a fantastic event has been the perfect illustration of our shared ambition to make design an avenue to further connect ideas, cultures, and disciplines. We are happy to see that the French culture has such a positive image and can inspire creators, entrepreneurs, or just beauty lovers. From art galleries to artistic performances and creative collaborations, highlighted yearly by the French May Festival, France has forged strong bonds with Hong Kong cultural scene. I'm delighted to see that design plays an increasingly significant role in France-Hong Kong exchanges. This year's theme, Intersection, Design, Artistry and Innovation, perfectly captures the essence of French design, a continuous dialogue between tradition and modernity, craftsmanship and innovation. France's design heritage spans centuries, always with a reputation of excellence and pioneering savoir-faire. French designers have made indelible contributions to fields such as fashion, architecture, industrial design, interior design, and visual communication. They continue to push boundaries, challenge conventions, and leave a lasting imprint on the global design landscape. For the next 3 days, you will have the chance to hear from those renowned designers, famed architects, brilliant creative minds, head of world-renowned control institutions. They will present their vision and innovative design practices and highlight the transformative power of design. With such an inspiring program, I encourage you to take full advantage of every talk, exhibition, and exchange planned this week. We are really honored to have among us the presence of the Institut Français, as well as numerous French leaders in design, ready to share their experience. Before concluding, I would like to express my most heartfelt gratitude to our partners, particularly the Hong Kong Design Center, for their warm welcome and the commitment to making this event a top-level platform for exchange. May this week inspire us all, spark new ideas, and remind us of the incredible potential of design to make our world better, more beautiful, more environmental friendly, and more connected. Thank you, and I wish you all an excellent Business of Design Week. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mrs. Drew, for your kind words. Please be seated. Now, please join us in welcoming our guest of honor, Mr. Kevin Young, GBSJP, Secretary for Culture, Sports, and Tourism of the Government of the HKSRA, on stage for a few words.
Eric, Margaret, Christelle, our friends from France, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me first welcome our friends from France. I hope you all have an enjoyable stay in Hong Kong. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Business of Design Week 2024. Incepted in 2002, BODW has become an annual flagship event of the design industry, dedicated to fostering exchange, networking, and collaboration. The Cultural and Creative Industry Development Agency of my bureau is pleased to be the lead sponsor of this signature event organized by the Hong Kong Design Center. This year, BODW gathers over 50 design masters, creative leaders, and entrepreneurs from around 10 countries and regions to speak on a wide range of topics, echoing the theme of intersection, design, mastery, and innovation. In the coming 3 days, a series of keynote, panel discussions, and fireside chat sessions will be held to explore how the converge of design, artistry, and technology influences the business scene and resolve the challenges that we are facing. France is the partner country this year, following our last collaboration in 2009. I'm pleased to learn that a prominent French delegation is here to exchange creative mindsets and innovation solutions with the participants and bring in an exclusive design, home decoration, and lifestyle exhibition titled Maison and Object Design Factory to Hong Kong. The joint effort in hosting the full spectrum of design programs not only advances cultural exchange, but also reinforces the long-term collaboration between Hong Kong and France, marking the 60th anniversary of the China-France diplomatic relationship. My bureau has recently promulgated the blueprints for arts and culture and creative industries development, setting out a clear vision principles and strategic directions for the future development of the arts, culture, and creative industry in Hong Kong, to further consolidate our position as an East-Midwest Center for International Cultural Exchanges. Under the strategic direction of enhancing the ecosystem for the arts, culture, and creative industries, we have planned to enhance BODW's role in more collaborations and business engagements in future. I would like to express my gratitude to the Hong Kong Design Center and the Hong Kong Trade Development Council for presenting another Business of Design Week that scales a new height. My special thanks also goes to France, our partner country, and many other strategic partners of this event. I wish BODW every success and all the participants a fruitful and enjoyable experience at the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young, for your warm welcoming remarks. Please be seated. Now, BODW previously was held at West Kowloon, a hub for design and creativity. This year, BODW 2024 returns to the Exhibition Center, a venue, an international venue gathering over 50 international speakers. What an amazing experience.
That's right. So we hope that we will have more spectacular sharing during the session. And also, if you've missed any today's insightful sharing discussion, or you would like to revisit our highlights of today, please tune in to View TV 6 tonight at 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. for a special TV program featuring today's event. Don't miss it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to invite our officiating guest to join us on stage for an opening ceremony. Thank you.
The first guest we would like to invite is Mr. Philip Delon, President of the Executive Board of Maison et Objet.
Mr. Victor Tang, Commissionary for Cultural, Mr. Victor Zhang, Commissionary for Cultural and Creative Industry, Cultural and Creative Industry Development Agency.
Ms. Christine Dru, Consul General of France in Hong Kong and Macau.
Ms. Valerie Brizet, Deputy Director for Cultural Diplomacy, Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs.
Dr. Victor Loh, Chairman of BODW Steering Committee.
Ms. Margaret Fong, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council.
Mrs. Eva Nguyen Min, President of Institut Français, Ambassador for French Culture Diplomacy.
Professor Eric Yim, MHJP, Chairman of the Hong Kong Design Center.
And last but not least, Mr. Kevin Yeung, GBSJP, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Government of the HKSRA. Thank you all our officiating guests on stage. We are going to kick off BODW 2024. Can we please ask you to place your hands above the button? And on the count of 3, we will press down together. Are you ready? Okay. In 3, 2, 1, press down. Congratulations and welcome
to Business of Design Week 2024.
Congratulations.
This celebration of BODW 2024 brings forth the colors of the French national flag.
The colors resonate with our conference: blue for liberty, white for equality, and red for fraternity.
And these values of love and passion connects us all, bringing together designers and business leaders from all around the world. And now a big thank you to our officiating guests. Please remain on stage. Please remain on stage.
We will be inviting additional guests to join you for a second group photo. How about we take one for now, right in the front of the camera, so our crew is right in the middle. let's take a nice picture. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. How about we place our hands on the button to have that picture as well? Lovely. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Amazing. Thank you very much. Please do remain on stage. We will be asking other officiating guests to join you for a second group photo.
That's right. And first we would like to have Mr. Benjamin Cabot, Council for Cultural Council General of France in Hong Kong and Macau.
Mr. Steve Lung, Vice Chairman of Hong Kong Design Center.
Professor Viveka Chen, Vice Chairman, Hong Kong Design Center.
Dr. Alita Lam, Vice Principal of Hong Kong Design Institute.
Professor Kun Pui Lee, Dean, School of Design. All of you.
Mr. Franck Milon, Partnership and Events, Special Events Director of Maison et Objet.
Ms. Cynthia Learn, Chief Communication Officer, Henderson Land Development Company Limited.
Mr. Clement Chung, General Manager, UTV.
Mr. William To, Executive Director, TMQ.
Ms. Cynthia Yao, Senior Vice President, Invest Hong Kong.
Last but not the least, let's have Mr. Tony Zhang, Co-Founder, Guangzhou Design Group.
Thank you very much, our officiating guests. Please share your smile to the front. Our photographer is right in the middle.
Let's look at our officiating photographer with a big, big smile. Let's take a few more shots to commemorate this special moment.
I think we can have a bigger smile. Guess in the back we want to see your teeth. Yeah, there we go. Great shot.
All right, just a few more moments.
Okay, thank you very much, our officiating guests.
Thank
Merci
you so
beaucoup. Please be seated. Kindly make your way to your seats. No rush. Now, BODW 2024 centers on the theme Intersection, Design, Artistry, and Innovation, showcasing how design-driven innovations can tackle complex challenges of our times and reshaping a more sustainable future.
That's right, and this year, BODW 2024 gathers over 50 renowned designers and entrepreneurs from France, Hong Kong, the mainland, and overseas. They'll share insights across key areas, including urban features, brand and retail resurgence, craftsmanship and material mastery, culture and digital aesthetics, and AI and future tech.
Now let's enjoy a sneak peek at the exciting week to come of Business of Design Week 2024. Welcome to the Business of Design Week 2024, where the theme Intersection sets the stage for an inspiring convergence of design, artistry, and innovation, shaping a brighter future for all. Over 50 distinguished global creative leaders come together to explore the transformative power of design-driven innovation, diving into 5 pivotal themes: urban futures, AI in future tech, craftsmanship, digital aesthetics, and the resurgence of brand and retail. These intersecting pathways highlight the diverse ways design will redefine our world. Join renowned visionaries Julia Kapp, Guo Pei, Kengo Kuma, and Thomas Heatherwick as they present groundbreaking solutions for sustainable urban living and the future of design. Their insights will inspire new approaches to complex challenges, encouraging collaboration and creativity. As we celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relationships between China and France, this historic partnership symbolizes a new era of global design collaboration, fostering cultural exchange and innovation. Join us at Intersection 2024, where together we will design a sustainable tomorrow. Before we begin, we'd like to share that we have the support of Kudo AI Speech Translator. By following a few simple steps, you can scan the QR code available on the screen to access AI instant translation for English, Cantonese, Putonghua, and French. So make sure to give that a try, and if you require any assistance, our staff will be happy to help you.
That's right, and today at the forefront is Eva Nguyen Binh, a distinguished diplomat who has held key position in French culture and diplomacy, including her current role as the president of the Institut Français and ambassador for French cultural diplomacy.
With a rich background in international cooperation and a commitment to fostering cultural ties, Nguyen Binh exemplifies the intersection of tradition and innovation in her work. To present a keynote on French soft power, championing the dialogue between design and métier. Please give a warm welcome to speaker Mrs. Eva Nguyen Binh.
Hello everyone, so my name is Eva Nguyen Binh. I'm very happy to be here with you today and to be able to talk in this wonderful event that is the BODW 2024. So I would like to thank very warmly Mr. Eric Lim, chairman of the Hong Kong Design Center, for making France the guest of honor for this year, and I would like to thank all his team for making this happen with the help of indeed Priscille Drull, the Consul General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, and all her team, and the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, represented here by Valérie Brisset. Thank you so much. So you may ask yourselves, why France and why now? I'm sorry, I think I have to do something. Well, we are celebrating this year the 60th anniversary of the China-France diplomatic relations, so that is a very great opportunity to make France the guest of honor. But also, I'm here with a great delegation from France because we would like to increase and develop our cultural relations, our cultural exchanges. And also, this year we had two great events, the Olympic Games. You can see here a photo, and we are reopening the Notre Dame Cathedral on Saturday, and both these two amazing events put design and craftsmanship at the core of the projects. But before we go deeper into design and craftsmanship, I would like to say a few words about France and cultural diplomacy. Because France has for centuries put culture at the heart of its diplomacy, of its foreign policy. And let me say a few words about the Institut Français, which is the institution that I have the honor and pleasure to lead. Institut Français is an institution, a public institution, working under the authority of the French Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs and the French Ministry for Culture. The Institut Français has for mission the promotion of French creators and artists and creative industries abroad, and also the support to the collaboration between the French creators and the foreign counterparts. We work very closely with the network of Instituts Français that are located in more than 100 countries in France. We also work very closely with the network of Alliances Françaises. There are about 800 Alliances Françaises in the world. And you may ask, what is the difference between an Institut Français and an Alliance Française? I will not go into details. They have the same missions, but because of history, they have different status. That's all you should know. But before we move on, let's watch a video that we made 2 years ago for the 100th anniversary of what is now the Institut Français. This will give you the spirit of what we do.
La culture française n'est jamais aussi belle que lorsqu'elle questionne, lorsqu'elle se réinvente pour gagner de nouveaux esprits, lorsqu'elle dialogue avec d'autres. Partout dans le monde, nous sommes heureux de faire connaître les idées, les œuvres, les savoir-faire des créatrices et des créateurs français, toujours désireux de s'enrichir et de s'épanouir en compagnie des autres cultures. Partout où nous sommes, nous favorisons les rencontres, nous questionnons les certitudes. Partout où nous sommes invités, nous aimons voir le monde parler notre langue et écouter d'autres langues nous parler du monde. C'est pour cela que l'Institut français existe. Partout où nous sommes, nous encourageons l'audace, l'inattendu, la liberté de créer et de penser. Chaque jour, nous vous invitons à la grande table des cultures du monde, inlassablement curieux de ce qui nous est étranger, tout en étant toujours fiers de nos racines. Depuis un siècle, grâce à un réseau universel, la diplomatie culturelle française tisse un maillage fait de 1000 connexions. Un esprit sans œillères qui accueille les artistes visionnaires, les enfants terribles du cinéma, du théâtre, de la musique, les audacieux, les créateurs inspirés, les professeurs de français passionnés. Bref, toutes celles et ceux qui empêchent le monde de tourner en rond. Institut français, 100 ans de diplomatie culturelle.
So, as you could see, France has put culture and the arts at the core of its diplomacy, so that's what we call the cultural diplomacy, but in the spirit of exchanges and collaborations with our partners. We take pride in our heritage, this will move on to the next slide, and indeed design and craftsmanship are very much part of this heritage. And we value very much what we call the decorative arts, which combines design and craftsmanship. And we will celebrate in 2025, next year, the 100th anniversary of the first exhibition of decorative arts in Paris. I'm sorry, I do not manage to move on to the next. Okay, so the French system has also been revolving around what we call the great manufactures that were created in the 17th and 18th centuries. So I would like to mention here the Mobilier National, which was created under the Louis XIV reign in the 17th century, but also the Gobelin tapestry. The Mobilier National is more for furniture, the Gobelin tapestry is for tapestry, carpets, and also I would like to mention the Sèvres porcelain manufacture created in the 18th century. All these great manufacturers have had for objectives to preserve the techniques, for vocational training, for highlighting the visibility of these traditional techniques. And today they combine very much these, preserving the traditional techniques with contemporary techniques and with innovation. So these are really leading institutions in France. And I would like to highlight that in the French delegation that is here today, we have people who will tell you more about combining innovation with traditional techniques, like Valérie Maltaverne from the studio Imer et Malta, from Olivia Putman from the Putman studio, like Rami Fischler and Julia Kapp. So please follow their talks. But for the context, I would like to highlight also that if we have been able to put design and craftsmanship at such a high level, it is also thanks to the government commitment. I've talked about the creation of the great manufacturers, but to this day, the commitment of the French government to support the creators, to support these sectors has been huge. Let me mention, for example, the education system, the vocational training system. We have more than 230 institutions that train designers, craftsmasters, and deliver a diploma that is called the National Diploma for Design and Crafts. This translates into the weight of craftsmanship, for example, in our cultural creative industries. The turnover of craftsmanship in France is 68 billion euros, it was in 2023, and 9 billion euros coming from the exports of this craftsmanship. We also like to make the connection between design and craftsmanship or artistic crafts. Even if they are two different sectors, they are they dialogue one with each other, and this is very important. We have identified 30 subsectors in design, like design of product, graphic design, but we also have identified more than 280 different professions in craftsmanship. And our objective, our goal is to strengthen these sectors because they are often very fragile. They are often, very small companies, family companies, one-person companies, sometimes one person working alone in their own studio. So the idea is to make them stronger and to make them more uniting, probably. So in 2019, the French government has launched what we call les Assises du Design, which we can translate by Design Forum, which for the first time put at the same table all the stakeholders of design in France to share, to exchange, to brainstorm on the future of design. The outcome of this is a report with 30 recommendations based on the fact that design is also very important to tackle the challenges of our time. For example, the fight against climate change. So this was a very important milestone. In 2023, the French government launched a 3-year special strategy on craftsmanship or artistic crafts. And this special strategy gave a huge impetus to artistic crafts in France. It was called Métier de la main, Métier de demain, which we can translate by handcrafts for tomorrow. There is a huge renewed interest in craftsmanship in France, I have to say. It was not so less talked about 2 or 3 years ago, and now it's the hot topic of the day. Everybody wants to be in artistic crafts. Now let me move on to projects that we can support and projects that we support. For example, and I would like to show you the diversity of the projects that we, Institut Français, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, together with the Ministry of Culture and all our partners, we support. For example, we support exhibitions, like here behind me you can see the exhibition of the French team in the Milan Triennale for Design. This is a pavilion that is based on research, design and research. There are also projects in which we support the visibility of French creators in international exhibitions, talks indeed, cooperation programs, international events, I've said that. We also support the visibility of French creators in, for example, the Ljubljana Design Biennale, which is the oldest design biennale in Europe. And mobility program, I think we are convinced that, for our creators to be more inspired, to be more innovative, they have to confront themselves to the others. They have to travel. There is even a program that is called the International Design Expedition that is led by the designer Mathilde Bretillo, which brings a group of designers each time in a total immersive program in a different country. We also support artist residencies which welcome designers and craftsmanship. The first one I would like to talk about is the Villa Kujoyama, which is in Kyoto in Japan, where the artists can enjoy a couple of weeks, a couple of months of total freedom to research on a project. And this is an artist residency that is was created, that is managed by the French government, together with a private partner, which is called the Fondation Betancourt Schuller. This is very important, and many artists and creators that have gone through this villa told me that it has changed their lives and their ways of working. Another artist residency is the Villa Albertine in the USA. This is closer to business. This is for creators, designers, craftsmasters that want to set foot on the American territory. And the latest created is the Villa Swagatam in India. That is focusing more in craftsmanship on textile-related crafts. So these are examples to show you that we strongly believe that the creators also need time to research, time to think, time to innovate. And here I would also like to mention the ARC, Atelier de Création et Recherche, which can be translated by Workshop for Creation and Research, that was created in 1964 in France. Now it is part of this institution called the Mobilier National. It is a unique place, it is an amazing place where designers can take time to make research, to push their limits, to push the boundaries of innovations, and without the pressure of business. There is no big name of French design that has not gone through this workshop for creation and research, and I wanted to mention that to you. But let me go back to the public commitment, as I mentioned, and I think you fully understood now the amazing commitment of the French government, but also the private sector commitment, and it is growing. We are working more and more with the private sector, especially on design and craftsmanship, and this gives us amazing opportunities to again make sure that our creators are really at the top of innovation, but innovation based also on sometimes very, very old traditional techniques. Let me mention here the Fondation Betancourt Schuller that I have already mentioned. This private foundation has been working for more than 10 years on craftsmanship. I think they were about the first ones to really dedicate so much time to craftsmanship. But also because craftsmanship is so linked to the luxury houses. The luxury houses have really also put an emphasis on making sure that the techniques are preserved. And let me mention the Chanel house that has opened a very special place in Paris. When you come to Paris, you have to go and visit that special place called Le 19M, the 19M, that really tries to make craftsmanship and creators more visible to the young people, and also the techniques, you know, less elitist, and also to motivate young people to jump into these sectors, because we need new talents also to make sure that all the techniques, all the crafts, all the designers will find a future with the young people. I would like to mention also here, with all the private sector represented, the Maison et Objets Pavilion. For the first time, the Maison et Objets will be here at the Hong Kong Design Center, so 1,000 square meter pavilion, the design factory, curated by leading names in design in France, and also the Paris Design Week that has designed a super program for the In the City program of this Design Week. So, before we move on to 2025, I would like to mention also, because the year is not finished, but I don't manage to move on to the next slide, so if you can, back there, that would be great, but anyway. Okay. So, in a couple of days, on Saturday, there will be the reopening of the Cathedral Notre Dame. As you know, there are 5 years of restoration after the Great Fire of 2019. And design and craftsmanship have been at the core of the project. I think the President Macron really wanted this project of restoration of the cathedral to be around the people who work on I'm sorry, I didn't manage to move the slide. Yeah, who work on the crafts. For example, the roof. What's under the roof of the cathedral? They used 13th century techniques to remake the same framework of the roof. But indeed, they used very innovative techniques as well to evaluate the damage done to the cathedral and the framework of the roof, and to make sure that what has been done to do the roof again is done the right way. But they really were keen to use the 13th century techniques. And also contemporary design. Let me mention the designer Iona Vautrin, who designed the chairs for the cathedral, but also Guillaume Bardet, who designed what you can see behind all the furniture and the utensil for the mass. Again, I think everybody is so enthusiastic about the restoration of Notre Dame, as enthusiastic as for the Olympic Games. Let me say a few words about Mathieu Le Hanner, who designed the cauldron and the torch for the Olympic Games. So I think, again, design, craftsmanship, innovation are very much fashionable, if you may say so, in France these days. It is very much everybody wants to be in there. So let me mention for 2025, the 100th anniversary of the decorative art, 100th anniversary of the first exhibition of decorative arts in Paris. There will be another exhibition to celebrate that. There will be also a big ball at the Museum of Decorative Art. It will be the ball of the century. The artistic director of this ball will be Sofia Coppola, so this is one thing you don't want to miss. There will be also 2 international biennales for design in France, the Saint-Étienne Biennale, the 13th edition, and the 5th edition of the Chaumont Design Biennale. Do not miss that. But also, I would like to mention the Osaka 2025 Universal Exhibition. Everything is confidential, so I cannot tell you much about it. I can only show you this. But let me tell you that design and craftsmanship and indeed innovation will be at the core of the French pavilion in Osaka. On this note, I would like just to mention that the big thing is also to make craftsmanship and design more accessible to the public, to make sure that the public does not consider design and craftsmanship like an elitist, far away sector. And I would like to mention also that a lot of contemporary artists now take interest in craftsmanship and in design. Maybe let me mention just a couple of names. Caroline Guillen-Nguyen, the famous French theater director. She has just created a piece of a theater play that is around techniques of lace and embroidery. Let me mention also, for example, Eva Jospin, who's working a lot with embroidery, or Jean-Michel Otoniel, who works on glass and glass blowing. So all this make it very, very hype to be in the craftsmanship. On this note, I don't want to be too long. I think I've spoken my time, but I wish you very fruitful discussion for this design of this next week. Again, let me say how honored and pleased I am to be the leader of the French delegation to this BODW. Thank you again to all the organizers and supporters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eva Nguyen Binh. What a wonderful start to our program.
Next up, renowned for his novelty and originality, we have Thomas Heatherwick, one of UK's most prolific designers, known for his remarkable and original creations spanning a career of 20 years. Founder and design director of Heatherwick Studios, he has built a diverse team of 200. Also writing the book Humanize, a maker's guide to building our world, focusing on human-centered design.
So ladies and gentlemen, now please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Mr. Thomas Heatherwick on Humanizing Cities, a 1,000-Year Vision.
Hello everybody. The first thing I just wanted to say is what an honour it is to speak again at Business and Design Week, and for everyone who's here who hasn't been before to Business and Design Week, you may be thinking that this is just another conference, but it's really not. This is an incredible network of friendship, and when I first came to Hong Kong, I met the Hong Kong Design Centre team and the founder of BODW, and this is an amazing family of people who are actually connecting us across the world in a way that in our separate bubbles we so often don't get to connect and have important conversations. And following the leader of the French delegation just speaking about public design, I'm going to talk, I'll show a few of my studio's projects, but first I just wanted to talk about the challenge in public-facing world that we have now. We had Business of Design Week having to not happen. During COVID, it was very difficult to all come together. And COVID accelerated all the digital technologies and meant that we were buying everything from our bedrooms. You could study and get a PhD lying in bed. You can work remotely. And suddenly, public space was more precious than ever, now that it's not an obligation, that you have to go out and be together. And so the design of the world that surrounds us has to be the place you want to be at, because we learned that we're all pretty horrible to each other online. Online brings out the worst in people, but physical presence together brings out civility sometimes, often. And so my passion is the world we share together, and my studio's projects are based around that. And that led to a piece of thinking over the last 30 years of realizing how we do our projects. If you're all different designers and architects, we're in our bubbles and we do our work. And actually, the people in this room are exceptional people who make very special projects. But our challenge is actually the 99% of the world that gets built around us. That just the fact that you're here means that you probably care much more than the 99% of the projects that happen. And so that led to some research and something that felt exciting. And I suppose I'm going to share with you for the first time in Hong Kong about this, that led to this book. And really, this piece of thinking, I'm not sure, right, clicking is working, is about how in the world of buildings we've had, I believe we've had a catastrophe over the last 80 or 90 years. Because we've had a world of construction that has failed us in the outsides of buildings. And proportionately, most new buildings you go into, it's pretty good. It's pretty good daylight, pretty good ceiling height, pretty good circulation, lots of space. Generally, almost every building that you find that's a new built building works internally very well. But the question is, what does it do for society? Because most people are not going to be inside a new building. Most people are outside, on the streets, the bit that we share together, the public rooms of public life, and that fabric of society. And so this book is about the outsides of buildings, and a conversation that I think is very important to have, and something where our industry as a whole, the developers, the planners, the architectural side, the industry that drives forward the built world around us, has had an imagination failure. And an imagination failure is to put yourself in the shoes of not your industry, but to put yourself in the shoes of the passers-by. And so if we go on a little tour, so if we go to Germany, who would be sad if this building was demolished? If we go to Italy, would you want to go on a date outside these buildings? Or if we go to Singapore, would the designers of these buildings really want to live in them themselves? So there's this thing that's happened, and it's a disappointing word. And yes, I've written a book that's 496 pages long about a word that's very disappointing. The word is boring. And you might be like, what? Boring? Is that all you can talk about? Or why are we not talking about beauty? And the book isn't about beauty. Beauty feels like it's talking about, something that's very subjective, the thing that we discuss about how wonderful can something be. What I'm talking about is we've had an epidemic of characterlessness in new cities and towns everywhere. So what I'm talking about is how to make everything not quite so rubbish. And I'm not talking about the amazing opera houses and art museums, the things that are arts buildings, because people suddenly go, oh, arts building, let's put some imagination and care into those. I'm talking about the 99% of buildings. So you might be then thinking, well, okay, what does that mean? And so if we make a little list of the things that we're talking about, I'm talking about buildings that are too flat, too plain, too straight, too shiny, too monotonous, too anonymous, too serious. And so, why am I going on about that? It's actually because the research that we have been exploring and finding is showing us, sorry, the clicker is very, very slow, is that a term that I want to use, which is harmful boring. And those might seem like a strange pair of words to put together. Like, what do you mean harmful boring? And the interesting thing is when we start to speak to neuroscientists who have been researching how our bodies and brains respond to the buildings that are built around us. And so when we really look and don't ask people's opinions, because we've had a weird thing where our industry just says, oh, the public are ignorant, they just don't understand. But so if we don't ask, what's your opinion, but just look at how the brain is reacting, how the hormone levels are responding, that's where it gets really, really interesting, because there are now the techniques to look at how our bodies are responding to places. And there's one of the amazing researchers is a neuroscientist called Colin Ellard at the University of Waterloo in Canada. And in New York, he did a study looking at how our bodies reacted to, on the left, this relatively plain, relatively flat, relatively anonymous, relatively monotonous, relatively serious, relatively shiny new building. And on the right, to a building that's less relatively flat, shiny, monotonous, anonymous, plain and serious. And what was so interesting was people's cortisol levels. So they were using skin conductance analysis meters on everybody. So they weren't asking anyone's opinion. And when put in front of the building with more visual complexity, or the other way, when put in front of the building with less visual complexity, the hormone levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, significantly went up. So what was so interesting to find is that we, as humans, are less is more, and these lines that form follows function, less is more, ornament is a crime, might be absolutely right when it's a gadget in your pocket, where having a million buttons and stupid stuff isn't right. But actually our brains, we're wired as infovores, which means our brains need information. And if you take that away, you take away the shadows and textures, and you just have repetition of the same thing, our bodies start going into stress. But if you say, okay, well, I don't care about any of that, whatever, that's whatever. If we just talk about the environment crisis, which I think we can almost universally agree on, that we've got a very serious problem happening. This gets super serious when we look at the dirty secret of the construction industry. And that dirty secret is demolition. Is that you actually have to care about what society thinks about what you create and what their bodies feel. And because when society doesn't love buildings, they knock them down. So in the UK, the average age of a commercial building is 40 years. So if I was a commercial building, I would have been killed 14 years ago. If I was in Seoul, the average age for a while was 30 years. In China, the average age of a residential building is 34 years. Average age of a commercial building is 35 years. So the dirty secret is the fact that the amount of carbon used to make buildings is 5 times the impact of the aviation industry. And we talk about flying. People do talk about, I shouldn't fly, it's bad for the greenhouse gas emissions. But it's 5 times that for the construction industry. In the US, we demolish 1 billion square foot of buildings every year. That's half of Washington, knocked down and rebuilt with no less characterless buildings. So what on earth are we doing? What's happened? And when you look at that data, and look, so this is double page from the spread. It's a little penguin book like this. And so you can see it takes 4 kilos of carbon to make a Big Mac on the top of this graph. And it takes 250 tons of carbon to put a space rocket into orbit here. And down here, this is a British tower, which British towers aren't very tall, as you might know, compared to anywhere in Asia. So that's a building with the average age of 40 years, and the amount of carbon it takes to do that is the equivalent to 23 million Big Macs. And that's the equivalent of, by the way, if this is a book this big, it's 10 meters more than the book. So that's the equivalent of about 3 times the width of this room on this graph. And that's the dirty secret, because there are some things that as society we talk about, and then there are some things that we don't talk about. And the only way that we will have change is if society starts talking about buildings. And so maybe a useful way to talk about it is about nutrition. When I look back to when I was little, 40 years ago, I was little a bit longer than that as well. When I was little, I had the very embarrassing thing that my mum would cook seaweed, and we would have brown rice, and I got given dried bananas to take to school that looked like cat droppings. And you'd kind of go into school just so embarrassed, just wishing you had the same food as all your friends. And it was like you were a hippie. And in fact, my dad wore Birkenstock sandals in 1977. And there was only one shop in the United Kingdom in a place called Ipswich. We had to get the train to Ipswich to get the weird sandals that my dad wore that were good for posture. But look how the world has changed. Now in the West, everyone has seaweed. They don't think that's abnormal because they're interested in nutrition. And people have learned that foods have a big impact on our health and our well-being. And Birkenstock sold for $1 billion a year ago. So what seems like a weird thing to be talking about can become mainstream. And we now know that ultra-processed foods are not good for our bodies. But we've had ultra-processed buildings. And we keep doing it because the conventional ways that things change aren't there. I bet most people in this room, even though many of you are in industries that relate to design, feel powerless about buildings. Buildings get built, we think, well, I'm not a developer, I'm not a planner, I'm not an architect. And the industry is very happy. Almost every new building you see is award-winning. Who's it winning awards from? It's not winning awards from the public. We just had our big architecture prize in the United Kingdom called the Sterling Prize. And in that prize, they did a special thing where they asked for the public's vote. And so the public gave their vote for what was the best building in Britain. And they went, anyway, this wins. Who are buildings for? I think we've got our thinking back to front. And the only way it will change is through public conversation, because that's how things change, even though everyone feels powerless. So that was a foodstuff that was being given to children all across the UK called turkey Twizzlers, made from rubbish ingredients. But society said, what are we doing with our school lunches? And it changed. And we can do that with our buildings. So in the world of architecture, we do talk about the green premium, which is that it costs a little bit more to make a building that has good environmental credentials and has high performance in the way that we measure sustainability. But a building isn't sustainable, and this is where it sounds a bit fancy in a way. It's without love. Unless we as society just care about something enough that your granddaughter might say, don't knock it down, let's repair it, let's adjust it, let's adapt it. And look at the amazing heritage you have here in Hong Kong. And even PMQ, the Police Marine Quarters, wasn't the most gorgeous building, but we could breathe love into it, we can do something with it. So what we don't have a real green premium unless it's a human premium, and actually people care. So at the heart of this, in the design industry, we talk about form follows function, and it sounds so good. But in the world of construction, we've fetishized the head and theory and sort of academic showing off in a way to ourselves, to our industry, impressing each other in an echo chamber. And we've lost track, and so many industries do this as they professionalize, is you can lose track of actually what we all are in essence. And if we try and put AI aside, what's the bit that's really us? It's actually our emotion, and that's what AI hasn't got. So we really need to be making buildings and with the mindset that emotion is a function. And we need to think about, how do we make a building that might last 1,000 years? Who's somebody who you will never know, never meet, might care enough about. And what we've done is we've scraped off buildings, stories. The head urban designer in Singapore said this to me. She said, buildings don't tell stories anymore. By this idea that less was more. Less is more in some places, but not in urban life. We fetishize clean lines. I've never met an 8-year-old who says, I love this place because of the clean lines. It's because we like dirty lines. And we mustn't forget that we need fascination is actually essential. And everyone is smart. You don't have to study architecture. Every one of us has lived in buildings all our lives. So actually, our industry doesn't have the sole voice on what is or isn't good. So in the book, we propose a humanized rule. It's very simple, is that a building should just be able to hold your attention for the time it takes to go past it. That doesn't sound very fancy, does it? But I haven't said in what way you go past it. That might be on a train, it could be cycling past, walking past, or it could just be walking at the closest distance. And so in the way that I think we need to be thinking about buildings and testing ourselves, I think it's really important that we think from 3 distances. And so often we don't. So here we go. So the first obvious distance is city distance. And this is the distance often when you go into a city planning office, they're looking at architectural models as if they're in a helicopter, looking down, turning it around. This is the view when you're looking 200 meters, 100 meters away from a building. How does a building fit into the city? The next distance is street distance. When you start getting close, when a building's on the other side of the road, 30, 40 meters away, does it connect, as infovores that we all are, does it just have enough to give some necessary connection? But the most important distance of all, and the cheapest distance, is door distance. So so often, buildings are great at city distance, but terrible. When you walk up to them, it doesn't matter how twisted thing you're looking at, it's just a wall of glass, a silicon sealant, big panels of aluminium, and it's giving you nothing. We are still roughly the same size we were 500,000 years ago. Our eyes are the same distance, the distance of our walking, but what connects to us, and this human scale, is so important, and it's cheap. Don't let people tell you that it's too expensive to make buildings human. It's far too expensive to actually knock them down. So that's what led to the Humanized campaign, and this book is being published now in 11 different countries, and we have had 2 symposiums, and we're connecting together the researchers and neuroscientists so that we don't just have this as an artistic debate. This isn't about turning buildings into Bilbao Guggenheims and Sydney Opera Houses. This is about the emotional response to places. This isn't about copying old-fashioned buildings. This isn't about how curvy or square. It doesn't matter, any of those could be human. There are some amazing modernist human buildings. Not a lot, but there are some. In my own studio's work, we have worked on very different kinds of things. We had the honour to work at the London Olympics on the Olympic flame. I was just reminded by the last speaker. But our passion is trying to think about feelings and not just trying to make something that hopefully a professor would value, but how do you connect with an 11-year-old? And so this is my team. This is a project in London that was taking 2 old warehouse buildings, not knocking them down, and they needed a new roof, and they needed a heart of the space. And so we let the new roof grow, kiss together, and make a heart. And this is a shopping district very close to my studio. But the lessons that we learned that led us to propose this actually were from Hong Kong. Because when I first came to Hong Kong, I got to meet one of the amazing developers here called Swire Properties. And we learned so much from working with them about human dynamics. And we need to be really interested in how people respond and use our spaces. And so this building, I don't know if you've been to Pacific Place. We renovated Pacific Place. It was like this huge apprenticeship. But one of the biggest lessons we learned was people don't just remember big things. People remember love in little details as well. So yes, when this project opened, people were photographing the kissing rooms. But there were just as many people photographing all the lift buttons. And I learned that here in Hong Kong, where we did the lift buttons. And to our amazement, people kept saying, I love those toilets and the lift buttons. What? The lift buttons? As humans, what we touch, you can tell when somebody cares. And so often, we're caring about the gigantic thing that looks good in photos, but not actually the tiny bits that an 11-year-old also can touch and feel. And so those lift buttons, that was a bouquet of buttons. In Japan, we finished a district called Azabudai Hills. It's the same developer, Mori Building, who did Roppongi Hills, that some of you may have been to. And this district we made as a landscape because there are so few parks in Tokyo. And so we wanted to make our project, even though it needed to have many buildings, but how we could make more green space for the city and make buildings become the green space too. So you could walk up the buildings, you could walk up onto this landscape, but also make it have human scale, small scale details, trying to make even the materials, when you stand door distance away, have some fascination, have bits you can go and get wedged in and play in. We're all children, don't pretend you're not. And so that's something, that side of seriousness and how we have play in places is so important. In New York, we finished a park, I don't know if any of you have been to it, 3 years ago, called Little Island, which we weren't asked to make an island. We were asked to make a building like our Expo Pavilion at the World Expo on an existing design. But it didn't seem a good use of the money that was available. Instead, why didn't we forget about doing something like we'd done in Shanghai, and instead make the pier itself be something, and think about the emotion of a visitor? So by pushing the pier out into the water, it became an island. And islands are weird things. Islands are places where you feel you have permission to think other things, to be different version of yourself, and you don't want to be next to a 9-lane highway anyway. So there's an outdoor theatre for 700 people, there's smaller spaces for performance, and the emotion of being out on the water, as well as tiny details. In South Africa, we didn't knock down this grain silo on the waterfront, which had been built during the apartheid era, so it could have been very easy to demolish. But the building had stories in it, and the building was weird because it was made from tubes. But we were told tubes are rubbish for art galleries, and this was going to be the first major contemporary art institution in Africa. So we felt huge responsibility, but we didn't want to just make a square box building with square box galleries in it. So it had so many particularities. So that's why we took 1 grain of corn and cut it out of the whole building. And so it's raw, it's rough, but that was about the emotion of how do we make people go inside when most people have never been to a museum before in their life. So it was taking an unloved structure and trying to make it grab your curiosity and make anyone have to go inside. And it's free for all local people to go and be there. And this is where the corn used to come underneath. This is a university in Singapore. And our challenge was that you can stay in bed and get qualifications, but it's only when you're with people that you might meet the person you start a charity with, or start a new business, or have an innovation together with. So the existing university had miles of corridors. So how could we make a corridor-less university building? And also no air conditioning in the public space. Could we make cross-ventilation mean that we didn't need to do that? And we had a budget that was a little bit more than for a car park. So the challenge was, how do we give love to concrete? And so we worked with an artist who did 800 drawings, and we embedded them in all the concrete everywhere, and made gardens and outdoor spaces just as much as indoor spaces, so that it's a place of collaboration and togetherness more than anything else. So it's all led by emotion. Learning happens after the emotion, but the emotion of togetherness matters more than anything. In Silicon Valley, together with BIG, we had the chance to reinvent workspace for many thousands of people for Google in Mountain View. And so we made giant collaboration spaces like universities. So these are giant semi-rigid tents where all the employees and team can come together, and there was even a public route through the middle of the largest one of these buildings, and we built 4. But inside, the whole thing was, when you went close, you know, normally people design a building and then they think, better be sustainable, let's stick some solar panels on the roof. Instead, we made the whole building from solar panel. So it's like a dragon scale. The entire roof is made from these scales that we developed that generate power. So this is the largest LEED Platinum work building in the world, these buildings that we made. And as you can see, these large spanning spaces mean that you can build a village inside and have flexible space that can change over the years, but where everyone has perfect daylight. you can make somewhere that connects with people's emotion, because if you're going to not work at home, somewhere has to really fire you up and inspire you to come together with other people, have your privacy, but also be able to come together with other people. In Singapore, we've also been looking at how do we make living spaces. And we finished this just before COVID and everyone got locked down, but just thinking, what's this weird thing about apartments where you end up on this 40th floor, like you live in a helicopter permanently? How can we have gardens on all floors? And in fact, how can we not have silly atriums and lobbies with artworks and marble desks and pianos and these? So our building is just a garden. You walk into the garden and you take an elevator up to your apartment where it's garden all the way around. And you can open up on multiple sides to get cross ventilation and need less air conditioning. In Shanghai, we've been looking at how can we be part of a district that isn't the Bund, isn't where the Louis Vuittons would be. And we've been working on this and we're nearing completion now. And the key thing was we're borrowing nature to be visual complexity in our building. The building is using 1,000 columns that we needed on a grid that can work for car parking, work for workspace, hotel space, spaces for restaurants, kindergartens, performance spaces. But on every one of those columns, we're planting semi-mature Chinese mountain trees. So as you can see, the second half is just nearing completion. And we worked with many local artists and some international artists. So on the city side, the building is sliced through, and there are the artworks of many people embedded in the building. And there are hundreds of outdoor terraces. And in fact, my own studio, we have our studio there next to a karaoke bar and a beauty parlour on the top right of the smaller of these two mountains. And in the UK, our challenge is we have so many Victorian buildings, and these were the last major exhibition halls in central London called Olympia. And the problem was, it was like a dead bit of London. These exhibition halls over time had grown, joined together, and unless you were going to the cyber security show or the dog show, it was a dead bit of London for you. So our challenge was, how do we make this a place that we can go to at any time of the day? And we realized the only way that could work is to make the exhibition halls work even better, connect even better together. But the only way we could make 2.5 acres of public space more was on the shoulders of the buildings. So we've made a new street, raised up, so you can rise up. We've made London's first new theatre of 1,500 seats for 70 years, which is nearing completion. We've made 600,000 square foot of new workspace, a new music hall, and 2 hotels. Back to lift buttons. Budgets are always tight, but you can always afford lift buttons. And so these are I'm giving you a little private viewing of the lift buttons. But the bit people touch, it's a sign to people that, hello, we care. And I know we can't afford the most expensive paving, we can't afford the most expensive lift, we can't afford the most expensive plumbing, but we know you're there. And so these are the lift buttons where they're kind of, the signage is embedded in the button. But I hope you'll come to this new district when it's finished. It will start finishing in about a year from now. And finally, in Xi'an, next week, we're opening a project. Xi'an was the capital of China, and was the end of the Silk Route from Europe to Asia. And so we've been working on a new district there, and it's been moving very fast. We've been working with China Resources, and the team have been so dynamic, and our challenge was, how do we make a building that has 4 towers, has a street, has lots of shopping spaces and restaurant spaces, all the things that make so many of the dead places we go to happen and be like they are. How could we try and humanize that? So we've broken down the podium to slightly more human scale pieces. And we've had the chance to work with Chinese ceramic, because so often just a piece of aluminium or a piece of glass is just the dead thing. But China has a whole city where they make the most amazing ceramic glazes that when you go this far away, you can look at almost eternally, because they're like a whole universe as you look into the difference. Almost, is it in Japan you call wabi-sabi? And so we've had the chance to make structures and all these tables that are all interlocked with each other out of these ceramic that give a lot of personality and character. And finally, just a little preview. In the middle of the project, there was a part of the project that I never thought would happen, but where we're taking the 7 main climatic biomes of nature on the way from Europe to Asia, and we're making a vertical garden that is 18 stories high. This is a little sneaky peek, but this is opening next week, and it's called the Xi'an Tree. But I hope if you have a chance to come, that you will come and see this project. But we've been very lucky to work on certain kinds of projects where people make space for a humanized discussion. But actually, the only way that 99% of the world's buildings around us are going to change is if we all have 10 million conversations together, and it becomes ordinary to be interesting and odd to be boring. Why would we accept these buildings that then have such a massive environmental footprint, even if you don't care about design? We can't keep building and demolishing buildings, which is what's been happening everywhere as cities become more and more similar to each other. So the kind of imagination in this room, the kind of communication talent that's in this room can spread your own version of a story about why we have to humanize buildings around us and have this conversation. And it's very rare that I'm ever within time, but I've got 2 minutes left, and I'm going to leave it there. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hathaway. Thank you for showing us that how creativity and innovation has no boundaries. Thank you.
Next up, leading the way in contemporary architecture is Ma Yan-song, founder and principal partner of MAD Architects. Ma is the first architect from mainland to achieve recognition for landmark designs and one of the most influential architects in the region. Founding MAD Architects in 2004, his work focuses on futuristic, organic designs that reflect a modern interpretation of Eastern connection to nature.
Under Ma's leadership, MAD Architects has garnered global acclaim for projects such as Harbin, Opera House, the Absolute Tower in Canada, and the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art in Los Angeles. So in this keynote, Nature with Emotion, we will explore Ma's vision for a future city that prioritizes the spiritual and emotional needs of its residents, aiming to harmonize humanity, urban space, and the environment. So now please give a warm welcome to our speaker, Mr. Ma Yan-song.